Hi everyone, the old world is a year old and I have been playing nothing but Lizardmen, over 30 games. I've been watched all the content I can possibly have on Lizardmen. And I don't think it's any secret that our army book's in a pretty poor state. Our Carnosaurs are very good. Our skinks are quite good. Our Stegodons are fine, and that's more or less it. And any competitive list you see, that is all you're going to have to take Sauruses, and you virtually have to take a Slan, but that is all. Now, what I'm going to do here is this isn't a ranking of the tier system. People have done that. A lot of people are so disillusioned with our army book that I'm seeing a lot of fan-made content. And I want to have a look at that and give you my thoughts on, for the most part, can you just adjust points to balance these things so we get, a lots of varied armies, varied units within our own army, or are there some design things that need to happen? Let's get into it. Okay, first of all, this is the worst restriction I've ever heard of. It makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't affect competitive games whatsoever. It only affects casual games when you don't want to take a Carnosaur, which you can put a Scar Veteran on. It has to go. One Saurus unit, yeah, look, I am not 100% sure about this, but I would like to see more varied among core, and forcing you to take it is quite big, so I don't like it. And I'll address, if you do remove that, I'll address some things in core. Cold-blooded. Well, it's fairly obvious why that got dropped. It needed to be because of the fallback and good order rules. But we have gone from being the best leadership army in the game, the stoic defenders of the old plan, to the worst. We don't have Horde. We've just got terrible leaderships now. My Riverdactyls get around with the leadership of 5. Oh, I'll put a hero in there, leadership of 6. I mean, it makes no sense. So this needs to be addressed. Now, ideally, I'd love it to come back to the way that it was, but maybe that's again too good. So I think all leaderships could just go up by 1 point, except for perhaps generic Sauruses at 8. That's fine, but the hero should be 9. The skinks definitely need to go up from 5 to 6, and the heroes from 6 to 7. The Slan, I need a bit of play testing there. I think probably from 9 to 10 would be fair, but maybe that would be too good. But we are supposed to be a leadership army. Loss of Pedantry Fighter, fine. Arcane Vassal is fine, but geez, I'd love to be able to use Drain Magic with it. Obsidian Blade, really fantastic. Do you want the spears? You have to sort of figure it out. Cav Spears, can you drop them like a lance? Because right now they're pretty bad. I mean, if you have Obsidian Blades anyway, yeah, I think maybe that's just design that needs to happen. Blowpipes, we all know they're terrible. They do not work. They're one weapon in the game that doesn't work. They need to be redone. Monsoon works fine as an underpowered signature spell. I think signature spells are supposed to be underpowered. It's probably C tier, maybe worse if your opponent doesn't have shooting. I think it works. Maybe go up 1 in casting cost, which actually would make it better. Apotheosis is terrible, obviously, for the Slan nerf I'll get to in a sec. Doesn't work. Even if you fix that Slan nerf, I think it probably should go up down a point in casting cost, which would make it better. So the Slan. The main nerf that occurred, of course, was it was Monstrous Infantry and it became Monstrous Creature. My guess is the Games Workshop didn't realize that Monstrous Infantry would allow it to hide behind unable to be targeted. And they wanted it to be targeted. They wanted you to take, ethereal to protect it from arrows, or cannonballs, and maybe the temple guard to help out there as well, one or the other. Okay, but it had far-reaching consequences. The 90-degree vision arc is probably the worst. Now we cannot cast enchantments. Like when are your own units directly in front of you? I see content creators online all the time, really, really well-known ones, playing Lizardmen who just ignore it. The Apotheosis, again, is a minor one, but and the second nerf is a bit subtle, but it doesn't get spoken about a lot. But now large target can be shot at with everything in a unit, every rank in a unit. Now, that's fine for ridiculous dragons. It's probably a good thing. But for Slan, they just get deleted. And now Temple Guard, don't work there either because, okay, 30 Night Goblin arrows coming at you. You've got your Temple Guard there, but now your Temple Guard are getting hit by, 20 arrows. It's not, it's not what you want. Yeah, look, they're overcosted. Everybody knows that. They should go back to Monsters Infantry. They should go from 285 to 255. Or some sort of Howder firing platform rule, give it 360-degree arc and 190 points. But yeah, they're not working right now. All the disciplines of the old one should go down by 5 to 10 points, except for Ethereal. Old Bloods and Scar Veterans, they're fine. I'd probably drop Scar Vets down to 80. The Carnosaur's the problem, but when they're 2 points getting around on like a Horned one, yeah, they're pretty fragile. Carnosaurs are S tier. They're brokenly good. Like every monster in the old world, they should go from 170 to 220. But are you doing this rulebook right now, playing your friends? Because if they're not going to put their dragons up, you can't put up your Carnosaur. Okay, it's the only thing we have that can deal with them, and even that not very well. So yeah, you'd leave it at 170 if this was the only balancing you were doing. Our priests are fine. Our skink heroes are fine. Okay, we all agree in the old world infantry needs a boost, and most people go, and monsters are too good. Monsters aren't too good. The problem are mounted monsters, okay, with their magic items and their stacks of saves and all that sort of thing. We don't really suffer from that from as far as skinks because it's the Carnosaurs, yeah, do, but it's really not that much of a problem in the old world. So I don't think it's too much of a problem. But yeah, maybe well, across the board, old world, plus 10, 20, 30 points to mount on top of, if an ancient, engine of the gods is 255, maybe it should be 265 with Skinks Priests on it, but it doesn't affect us that much. All right, core. Sauruses are fine. It'd be nice to have an access to a magic standard. Skinks, clearly our best unit in the game that isn't a monster. Probably go from 5 to 7. Maybe I also tie with the idea of swapping blowpipes and jabs. Like blowpipes is standard at 5. If you didn't want to fix blowpipes, but anyway. Now, if you do remove the requirement for Sauruses, then it's going to cause issues that you would then need to address. So no one wants to see nothing but skinks on the table, so maybe a restriction would be necessary there. The same thing goes with Temple Guard. They're fine, but they are better than Sauruses, so maybe you can only take them if a Slan is present. Maybe you have to take Sauruses if it's 2,000 or more, if you're taking Temple Guard. And again, Jungle Swarms, they're fine right now, but they're actually quite good. They're a bit underrated, I think, and you might find them, if there's no requirement for Sauruses, existing as the anvil in our armies solely at the competitive scene, they might need to go up. It'd be interesting to see. The Chameleon Skinks cannot be taken right now. They're terrible. But really, I think the blowpipes and the undercosted skinks are the real issue. I think you fix those 10 to 11. Right now, compared to skinks, maybe 7, but I think it's that the skinks are too good. So, what are we doing here? I think, maybe give the blowpipe something like a move and shoot or something, and then 10 to 11, and they would work, and fix the skinks from 7. Okay, Croxagore, they're okay. They're probably C tier. They need to go down in points a little bit, but from a design perspective, why are they more fragile than Saurus? They're our monstrous infantry, yeah, right now I think they go from 49 to 42. But what I would like to see is they stay at 49, but their scaled skin are now full plate armor, so they have 4+ save. That makes sense to me. Really they should be toughness 5 from a design perspective, but they would need to go up to 58. Which I would be happy to pay. But however you do it, they need a bit of a boost. Okay, cold ones. They're high risk, high reward. They're badly affected by stupidity. Have you fixed that with either leadership or cold-blooded, because that affects your point cost? So I think right now 34 to 30 would work. If you do my idea of 1 leadership across the board. Now, cold ones, staying at leadership 8, you're not changing them, but I think the fact that you might put the Scar Vet and the Old Blood up from leadership 8 to leadership 9 would mean the cold one should probably stay at 34, because you can now take a Scar Vet and chuck them on a cold one and put it in the unit, and you have a much better unit because of this extra bonus to leadership. If cold-blooded boosts stupidity now, then yeah, 34 becomes 44. Big price increase because they're now virtually unaffected by it, even at leadership 8. Pterodons, so well designed. What other army has fast-moving missile cav? Yeah, a couple. None of them fly, and none of them are monstrous. So they're so much fun, but you cannot get the damage output to make them worthwhile. They need to go down in price. 25, maybe at the most, maybe more like 23, but they need to come down in price. They're so much fun. Ripidactyls are my favorite unit in the game, except maybe the Troglodon from a lore perspective. Okay, bit funny on these to cost them because Impetuous and their 360-degree arc means they can be taken advantage of, but you really have to have an opponent who knows what they're doing. So, yeah, at competitive to social levels, they'll function differently. I think at 40, they're actually okay, but they really rely upon their Furious Charge and their Cav Spears to be much better units. They need to get that fallback in good. They make that charge and get that fallback in good order on their opponent to keep it going. So I think from a design perspective, they should stay at 40, maybe go down 1 or 2 points, but they need 7 points. Upgrade someone as a standard bearer and the ability to take a magic standard. Then you're adding to combat resolution. They can take a war banner. They can take maybe a sun standard of Chotec because they are so fragile. That's part of their fun. And so that's how I would fix them. Now, their cleaving blow doesn't affect monsters. It should affect monsters and not infantry because monsters are way better than infantry in this game. The Bastiledons are fine the way they are, but the solar engines are what is fine. The arcs really aren't that good. So I would actually drop them to 150, but I would increase the upgrade to the solar engine so it remains at a total cost of 175. Okay, can't convince me Games Workshop play tested salamanders. They didn't. They're horrific. And Razordons aren't much better. Now, Razordons, they shoot tough targets badly. Salamanders go after infantry horrifically, and we all know how bad infantry are. Okay, Troglodons are another design issue for me. They're so much fun, but they're lacking one thing. As they are now, 200 to 140 because they are so fragile. I wouldn't actually decrease their fragileness. That's part of the fun. But their swift stride would make a big difference because now they can go after those support units much more effectively. Maybe they do need a 4+ save. Look, I probably do, but they are my points considerations there. The Stegodon and the Ancient Stegodons are fine. I know everyone wants the Ancient Stegodons and Engine of the Gods to be at 250, so we can take 2 of them in our allowance at 2,000, and our Slan will become better at casting. Yeah, maybe. But I personally think it is better at 255. That's me. Okay, imagine if we got an Arcane Journal. We won't, but we could get items to toughen up Slan, help them class. Why are Slan casters worse than Goblin casters? Okay, they need, makes no sense from a lore perspective. Cold 1 stupidity, extra leadership on things I've discussed. Now, our magic items are terrible. The only one that's costed correctly is Glyph Necklace. They all need to come down in points. A couple aren't too bad. The Blade of Sunkai and Piranha Blade should go down by 5 points. The Sun Standard of Chotex is an acceptable item, but you can't put it with units that would benefit from it, except for Ripidactyls, unless you're placing your BSB in it. And I would love more love for our cavalries and our cowboys. I would love a variety of horned ones, so no matter what, you're paying the 10 points to get rid of stupidity. But, the female ones are going to be +1 movement, so basically what it is now. The male ones are going to be -1 movement, but they're going to give +1 wounds to the board. And the alpha of the group, alpha horned one, +1 move, +1 wounds, +1 to its save, so you get that 2+ save. But now it's not 10 points, it's 50 points, something like that. Okay, I'm going to keep this under 15 minutes and finish by saying spread the old world love. It is Games Workshop's best game, and we need it to keep growing.